you need to be running so fast that you feel like you're going to fall over. Okay. And if you're not doing that, then you're too comfortable. Whatever shit you're saying, you have to believe it, right? You have to force yourself to say, this is where I'm going to go. They were all dreamers. They all believed they could do it at some point, become the best of what they do.
Who is the founder of Thaiger? I'm talking about the Thaiger we all know.
And businesses are not built of one person. So anyone that takes the spotlight, whether it was a Thaiger or anything else, it's just not the true story.
Michael Kenner, former business analyst at Credit Suisse and assistant vice president at Barclays, co-founder of the Thaiger and real estate company Faz Waz, runs businesses in Thailand with an estimated value of $100 million.
When I got thrown out, they said he should be a builder. Is this what life is there for me? That, there's limitations on how far you can actually go.
There's a famous saying that you can't become that rich without bending some of the rules. If you're here for news, I'd advise you to switch off right now. For an in-depth conversation on interesting topics from experts and professionals around Thailand, I'd like to welcome you to Thaiger Podcast. Mike, let's establish a little bit of a history. I'm going to go back to your university days, and I want you to tell me, what did you learn from your time in Aston University, and why business and public policies?
I mean, the honest truth is that, I was a loser.
Okay.
No, straight up.
Okay.
I kind of just skipped most of school, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I looked at all the universities available, and I don't think I could get into any of them, was the honest truth. So I went through like a clearing process where you're basically looking for anything. And this is what was available. I wasn't sure I was going to go to university till a week before I went.
Okay.
And basically, I just took any course that was kind of available. So I had zero interest in public policy. It was just an add-on to what I was doing. Yeah.
Okay.
So straight up.
All right. Now, you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And a business owner. For someone with such entrepreneurial spirit, why did you spend 4 years of your prime working in banking?
That's a good question. So, I grew up in a middle class family where it was a very wealthy neighborhood, but I was always on the other side of the fence.
Okay.
As in, the grass was always greener on the other side.
Okay.
So,
as it always is.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I always heard that the money was in banking, and especially, maybe I was a bit behind because that was maybe a few years before, because I started banking when the global financial crisis happened.
Okay.
But I was like, how do you make this thing called money? I knew the investment banks were paying well. So I applied for every investment bank under the sun, and I got rejected from every investment bank under the sun.
Okay.
I took a year off, and I played PlayStation, and as you do, kind of learning kind of your life. And I went back a year later, and this time I actually, instead of going through the process, because you're up against Harvard and Cambridge and all the top universities, people coming here from the US or Europe. So I actually just met someone, a guy who I thought was actually my age, and I was telling him about, listen, I don't really get this in relation to banking and et cetera, et cetera. I didn't really know too much about it, and he really liked me as a person, my personality, and I didn't realise it was the managing director of Credit Suisse when I was talking to him.
Okay.
And he gave me a job, and in kind of, at that point my parents were unbelievably proud. I mean, my history is I got kicked out of school.
Yeah. Okay.
So from someone who got expelled from school and failing to someone who's then gone into what his parents believe is a top tier job. I mean, for me, it was like, for my parents, it was my biggest achievement ever. And that's how I started. And
so just by chance, you met the right person at the right time who happened to be managing Credit Suisse?
Pretty much. I mean, it wasn't total chance. I mean, you create your own luck.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
So I've gone into an open day and I've spoken to someone, and it's a crazy opportunity. But I think you have to make your own opportunities. So you can't just sit at home and expect opportunities to be given to you.
Okay. So did you have the determination to succeed in life because, you were seen as a problem child, like you were expelled from school, obviously, then you get branded a certain type of person, like, oh, that's the kid who was kicked out of school. So did you feel like you had this, hunger inside you that I'm going to do what it takes? to make me money, to be rich and successful, and I think banking is the way to go.
So I guess so. So it was like when I got thrown out, they said he should be a builder.
Okay.
Yeah, put into manual labour job.
Manual labour, like plumber, builder.
And I was always relatively smart. I was always ambitious, and I thought, hey, listen, like, is this what life is there for me? That there's limitations on how far you can actually go, and I wanted to break the status quo. I thought I can do this. Anyone can do this. Like why not me? So when I the first kind of recognition was when I landed a job in banking. It was like, okay, I can compete on this level, but going into that world is very what you believe you're going to get or how that life is versus the reality is far from different. It's very, very different.
Okay.
So going into that world, you realize that actually, number one, the people aren't that smart. Number two, only a very small minority of the people get paid really well. Number three, there's a lot of kiss in banks. If you want to move up, you've got to kiss your manager's. That's the only way, really.
Everybody's best friends with a banker, but nobody's best friends with a banker.
Right. And I became very disillusioned working in the bank.
Okay.
Like extremely disillusioned, and it was just because I didn't aspire to be them, and they weren't. They were all idiots or arseholes. It was just that they weren't that good. They didn't aspire for to help people or really achieve in life. They're all very comfortable, just sat there, and I felt that. My a famous line I heard: if you need to be running so fast that you feel like you're going to fall over, and if you're not doing that, then you're too comfortable. So so that's kind of like a motto I run by, and I felt this was becoming easy, and was becoming complacent, and you can see your life being there for 10, 20 years. I was like, hell no, I do not want to end up like these guys, and that was kind of like why I decided to kind of leave. Was the honest truth.
All right. Mike, your first business venture was during university, so I want to start off from the bat talking about some of the failures you've had. So why did your first serious business venture, importing poker chips, in 2005 fail?
Okay, so I'll give you some backstory, right? So poker boom's happening right now. It happened, I think, 2004, and everyone just started playing online poker. And at that time, I used to catch Americans drunk. That was my gig. I was at university, waking up at 3 a.m., catching Americans online drunk, and beating them for large stakes.
Yeah.
It was quite easy at that time, before the pros started realizing that this was the ticket. So playing poker, and then we're playing with the set, but the set was £100 from Harrods. It was so expensive. And I was like, whoa. And my friend was like, hey, listen, this is crazy. So he started messaging people in China. On AOL Instant Messenger, and he found a few people that said, hey, we can get these landed in the UK for $10. I'm like, whoa, that's cheap. So we went around, we started pitching them to HMV, all the big stores, Toys R Us. Bad move, because they just go directly to the suppliers.
Yeah.
So we knew we had to diversify. At that time I didn't even know what diversification meant. Like hindsight's amazing. So we started branding them. So every set would have the chips, the case, the cards. It was all branded. We branded them with the online casinos. And we went and pitched this to a few online casinos, and we managed to land a contract with the biggest one in the world called 888.com. They were the number one at that time.
Yeah.
And I was a kid. I'm 19, and I'm at university. And so we had these contracts, and that was, we thought we'd won. I remember we got the deposit, and the first thing we did was we went to a nightclub and started buying champagne. We're loaded. That's the way it went, and the whole thing just went very, very quickly downhill. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Look, Michael, over here we're going to go deep, and this is going to be as transparent as possible. Now, I want to ask you a hard question. Have any of your business ventures involved unethical practices? Because there's a famous saying that you can't become that rich without bending some of the rules.
So the answer is, it depends who you ask.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example, right? So if you buy up all the real estate on a road, you're an entrepreneur. If you buy up all the milk, you're an entrepreneur. If you buy up all the oil, you're an oil baron. But there's some things which are open markets. If you do, people are like, that's wrong. For example, it could be music or concert tickets. You know, like if someone buys all the concert tickets, are they entrepreneur or are they the scum of the earth? It depends, you know, what kind of region you're in. So I've always tried to keep it within my kind of ethical kind of, you know, compass. But you can't please everyone. Some people think that what you do is wrong, but you know, but they do something. You know, everyone's trying to justify their own existence. So I think the main thing is I do it as long as no one's being hurt and no one's being defrauded, then I'm okay, you know, with that process, because the way to build business is to get to A to B as quickly as you can.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not to do it the right way, it's to do it the quick way. Yeah. The right way doesn't always win. It doesn't help build people and help build companies that support families, you know. So if you're running a business, you need to get to B as quickly as you can in the lowest cost base as you can.
Yeah.
So some people don't like that concept. So, you know, so yes, ethics is always there, but I keep my own ethical, you know, kind of compass around, and I put myself in check quite a lot.
Okay. So Mike, how did you end up in Thailand?
Okay. So I sat there and I watched a video in London, and it was Steve Jobs being like, it's some Stanford address. It's a very famous one. It's like, if you're not happy with what you're about to do, you know, don't do it, right?
Yeah.
And if you do this multiple times every day and this keeps happening, the same answer, you should leave. So I asked myself that question. I looked around in kind of the banking world, and I kind of like froze. It was like Thunderbirds. Everyone was still.
Okay.
I was like, I do not want to be doing this. I'm out.
Okay.
So, you know, 6 years later, I was doing quite well there. I had in my resignation, I told my family, look, I'm going to get out of Thailand. Of the UK. Because, you know, you're always associated with the stigma that you have in the UK, you know, with your friends. I wanted to reinvent myself. It was almost impossible to do at home. I said, hey, I'm going to Thailand. I've been there on holidays. I loved it, you know. And so I called up two of my best friends. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm leaving a very well-paid job, and I have some money with me. I'm going to go to Thailand. I'm going to start a business. They were like, what? I was like, no idea. But let's get the hell out of here, right?
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not enjoying it at home. So we turned up in Thailand, managed to convince two of my friends, probably ruined their lives. Turned up in Thailand, and we didn't know where we were going to be. So we ended up in Bangkok. And at that time, I don't really know Bangkok. So we said, hey, can we get a 3-bedroom apartment? And we found one in a day, and it turned out we didn't know what Soy Nana was. We was on Soy Nana.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I know. So it was the first month was basically there was no work involved. It was just understanding that, you know,
Yeah.
we're living down the biggest red light district in probably the world.
Let me learn my surroundings.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think after that we decided, like, we can't live here, you know, without dying very early. So we're going to head to Phuket, because I knew Phuket. And the first experience was we were renting a house, a villa, and the lady didn't have the key. She jumped over the garden. She was like, you my brother, you your dad. It was just the worst experience ever. We didn't trust her, you know. We didn't know if we were going to get our money, or if this was even the villa we're breaking in and breaking and entering the villa. So my business partner, who said, this is the one. We fixed this real estate issue. And literally that was how Faz Waz was born. It was like, this is a problem. And we tried to fix it. So that's kind of like how we ended up, you know, coming up with this. Yeah.
So sorry, just so that the audience knows. So you're the owner of DBV.
So
or let's say you're the major shareholder of DBV, and DBV owns Thaiger, Faz Waz, and a host of other companies like Tadu, this and that.
So me and my two friends and our business partners, we set up DBV, which was like a venture builder, to learn from what the lessons we took away from our first venture here, and we thought, listen, we could apply this across the board. So we set up this group, and yes, DBV, you know, yeah, like they are the main owner of all these companies, and you know, it's always been DBV that's funded. There's been very, very little funding from anyone else, is the honest truth. Yeah.
And did you ever think Faz Waz, now which is the real estate company,
Yeah.
would ever reach the valuation it's at, or ever reach to such a large scale to becoming the top, if not one of the top real estate companies in Thailand?
So you know, I'm a dreamer. So I was actually reading some emails that I sent around when I was looking to raise some money, and it said, hey, I'm Michael Kenner, I'm a dreamer. I wake up every day dreaming.
Yeah.
So I had to tell myself I was going to do it. We kind of looked at the prop tech space. We realised that you've got the Rightmove or realestate.com in Australia or Zillow in the US, and we thought, hey, there's a real opportunity here to kind of really change the markets. But did I really believe it? It will be as big as it's getting? No. No. But I had to tell myself, because I'm leading a team, and leadership is about, part of it is making sure people believe the narrative. So, I look around, I think it's pretty amazing, but it's definitely not me. There is a huge group of people that are doing this, and they're very talented, and they're the reason it is so successful today. But no, it's hard to fathom that that this is possible.
But that makes a lot of sense. If you don't believe it in yourself, how are you ever going to convince someone to follow you on that journey? Because there's only so far you can go with a lie.
100%. So you have to believe your own shit. And that's something I do. It's like I'm 100% convinced that we are building the biggest prop tech company in the country, like always. And so when I meet entrepreneurs or wantrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them, they say, yeah, I'm going to do this, but they don't really believe it.
Okay.
You have to believe it enough where you put everything on the line because you know it's going to happen. You're certain it's going to get there.
Yeah.
So you're willing to risk everything. But there's some people who are just like, I've kind of got a job, I believe it, but, or like, I don't have any money, but I've got a house. I have no assets. I sold everything that I had to invest in what I really believed in. And I think that when people make that kind of leap of faith and they fully believe in it, then you have to kind of think, okay, this guy might actually succeed in what he's trying to achieve.
Yeah. DBV as a whole is approximately valued at $100 million. Now, firstly, how does this valuation be set? Is this, taking into calculation how much each company earns in terms of revenue? Like, who sets this valuation?
It's very much like airy-fairy, is the honest truth. So the way you value companies, or the way they're valued in the modern world, is they're either usually trading as a multiple of revenue or something called EBITDA, which is like profit. Yeah? Okay. So the way to kind of bench your valuation is to say, right, look at public traded companies in, say, the US, the UK, Australia, established markets, and be like, okay, what multiples are they trading at, like for like? And then you could probably discount for, Thailand, because Thailand's a difficult market. It's the GDP per capita is obviously a lot lower in established markets. Population size is relatively limited. And then you can roughly get to an approximate valuation of your company. So that gives you like high level, and then you use VCs or funds to validate your price along the way.
Okay.
So we know roughly how much the group is worth at any one point. But the only truth is it's as much as someone wants to pay for it.
Yeah.
So it could be a lot higher, a lot lower, but we know an approximate valuation of where we're at.
Okay. Now, Mike, I would say you're an extreme example of what success means in Thailand, because not everyone can reach that level. Now, what I'm referring to is, like, let's say I'm a foreigner, and which I am, but it sounds crazy to me that, what you did, it took a lot of chutzpah, didn't it?
Yeah.
To just leave everything. You're in a comfortable job, you're earning a good living, you're in banking, and I'm like, I want to make a name for myself, I want to do something big, I'm going to leave my country, travel halfway across the world, and go to Thailand, of all places, known for many other things other than businesses, So how and why should a foreigner, how can they open multiple businesses in a country like Thailand, of all places, that is not very foreigner friendly, if we're being completely honest? What are the challenges that you had to face, i.e. like ownership rules, tax, corruption, mafia, police, this and that? There's a lot of stigma associated with Thailand when you want to open a business here. So what are some of the challenges you faced?
So it's a bit of a minefield. I think the first one is you have to ground yourself, especially here if you're a young male coming here. Like, you have to ground yourself. You cannot get caught up in it, because I see so many people get lost here, and they all think they're working, but really, are they working?
Yeah.
So number one is just definitely ground yourself, because this could become like a playground for you. If you don't really have the discipline. So be disciplined. The second part is definitely find great business partners. It's so important, that will fill different gaps in what you're not good at, and maybe personality gaps as well.
A lot of the times people just open a business up with a friend.
Yeah.
They'd be like, I'm opening this business up with a friend. Fast forward 6 months later, you're bankrupt and you've broken all relationship with your friend.
100%. It's like choosing a life partner, because a business takes 5-10 years, right? Realistically. So that's a long commitment. So you have to make sure you're in with the right people. And for me, it's very much a causing process. I've learned a lot through this, and I always say this: who are you doing business with? And you can't just be like, oh, we're mates from the gym. It has to be that they fill different gaps through, because it can be very lonely and very depressing building business, because they don't succeed at the start. There's a wild journey, so you really need someone to help pick you up, and so you need great people around you. So find great business partners and make sure you vet them. Not the first guy that wants to do a business with you. Great people, and that will really help. So you've got the personal side, and then you've actually got the physical business side. And like the challenges of setting up a business in Thailand is, number one, like ownership laws of companies is difficult here. Like standardly, you can only own 49% of a Thai company, right? Unless you use a different structure.
That's what you did, B.O.I.
Correct. So the government's getting better in supporting it. So they've got the board of investors, which allows you to do some different business units, as long as it's adding value to Thailand. When I say adding value, usually it's like training, skilling up, young Thais. So technology companies do well. They love this. As long as you show a plan. So there's all different types of companies that the B.O.I lets you do. We have to do a business plan, and you can imagine Thailand is so slow.
But was it difficult you come up with your business plan, you want to enter Thailand with the B.O.I. How difficult was it to get through the initial stages?
Oh yeah, it's
a lot of paperwork. I'm guessing.
It's painful, and you're pitching this to the B.O.I kind of government, and because you're speaking English and they speak English, relatively, but there's a total disconnect. The process, like everything in kind of emerging markets, it needs to evolve to facilitate this, but it's challenging. But I had some good Thai staff help me along the way. But the business plan that I was showing versus really what I was trying to do, I was just kind of like checking boxes for them, and it was difficult. I wanted to pitch them. This is the idea. The idea was we build Siam Valley, which was Silicon Valley in Phuket, and that was the idea initially. And we create a tech hub in Phuket. What a big kind of thing to kind of say to them. And I thought it was, it added a lot of value to not just Thailand but Phuket as well. And let's really, redefine and create a tech hub in a great location.
And why did you pick B.O.I? Wouldn't it be a lot more simpler to find a Thai partner? And
100%. I mean, that's the easy way. And we did this initially, but the truth is that you can't own it. So if you're building a company of scale, which is like own money part, I don't really know about small operations, but if you're building a company at scale to sell, you need a clear ownership structure. No one's going to buy a company where it has to be owned 51% by Thai, because they can't actually own it. So they can never acquire the company. So you have to have a structure where you're building to sell. So this allows a foreign entity to come in, or Thai entity to come in and own 100% clear outright. I think it's the only structure, if you're non-Thai as a foreigner here, to really structure a company to sell. So that's super important. You get the structure right. It's where I would start. So we have our IP in Singapore, and we have our operating companies in Thailand, and it allows for a very investor-friendly structure.
And how do you finance these projects? Like, do you have to be a rich foreigner? All these talks about Thailand elite, they're going to come to the country and invest in our country. So do you have to be rich already coming into the country, or are there realistic funding opportunities in Thailand for foreigners?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, literally there are none. No funding. Like I said, banks won't lend us because even if you live here for 10 years like I do, because I'm not Thai, they won't lend the company. They only lend Thai companies. It's very much it's not fair, really. You go to the UK, you can be any nationality, you have a British company, they'll lend against this, right? But in Thailand, they don't. And
is there a reason why?
It's just. I think it's in some Southeast Asian markets, but I don't really know why.
So if you wanted to, let's say, invest 100 million baht in the company, you couldn't go to just a Thai bank because the procedure, and at the end you'll just get denied.
Yeah, so like during COVID, a small Thai restaurant could loan money from the bank to fund cash flow shortages, because we had real troubles. But we went to the banks, and we've got huge headcounts, hundreds of people. They wouldn't give us $1. Like literally not one baht. And it wasn't because we had a bad business. It was just like, you're not Thai. And it's definitely so you have to deal with some of the stuff here which you wouldn't get anywhere else. I mean, it's just obviously it's inequalities for foreigners coming. We're living in the society here where in my home country you could come from anywhere, and as long as you're contributing, you can get treated equally.
Yeah.
But so there are challenges, and then so it's the only other route you have is the VC route, and that's also very challenging. Yeah.
Okay. And is that what you did?
So I funded a lot of companies myself initially. I was kind of in a fortunate position. I came out here with some money, but eventually we had to go to get funds. There's only a certain amount of money you can put in before you don't have any money left, right? So the issue with the VCs, especially in Thailand, Southeast Asia, number one is that, like, let's be honest, VCs, the people you're speaking to, they're all kids,
Yeah.
Like,
they seem to be very young.
yeah, they're not entrepreneurs, most of them. They're just working in a job, right? So, and they are, how can they spot a good business? So a lot of them are kind of followers, like sheeple VCs, where it's like, oh, if someone else is investing, they will just follow. But a lot of them just have targets. You end up wasting so much time speaking to VCs. They don't even care half the time. They've got no money to invest. So this is just the truth. So the VC space is really, really difficult, and it's basically a numbers game. You tell the story they want to hear as well. Don't tell the story that you want to tell them. Just tell them what they want to hear. Would you compromise for money? So if they said, hey, you was going to do this, but really they said, well, if you kind of did this, I'll give you money. Just always be try and fit into their box. But it's the whole funding mechanism in Thailand is hard, and to get VC money, I mean, there's not loads of it going around. I mean, there's other markets that these funds like Indonesia, where there's 300 million people, and Vietnam, where it's a crazily growing market, and then Thailand kind of gets left at the back slightly, because there's not that many success stories. And you've got to think, in the US, usually the rich founders have done really well, like the Facebooks or the Microsoft. They create their own funds and reinvest their money back into the system. In Thailand, it's just the richest families in the world are not, the richest families in Thailand are not contributing to the technology startup system. So it's like, where is the money coming from? There's just a lack of funding, and it's sad because Thailand could really do much better. And the people are natural entrepreneurs, the way they're kind of structured in life, and so it's a difficult one for Thais, and it's even more difficult for foreigners, like extremely difficult.
Okay. I know, Mike, you told me that you came up with the idea of, what you want to do as a business when you answered the question, what you want to fix. Like, where is there a need to fix? So you thought that real estate could really be improved. Now, there's a very common saying, at least in Thai society, in my generation, that if you graduate university and you don't know what to do, you open up a coffee shop. And that's why there's so many coffee shops in Thailand. But how do you choose a great idea? I'm not talking about a good idea, but a great idea that you can scale. And, you see many foreigners in Thailand owning restaurants, owning bars, owning, F&B kind of hospitality businesses. But how do you choose a great idea? That's a very difficult question.
Yeah, it's a hard one. So, okay, if we niche this out slightly, just to be like, okay, companies at scale. Yep. Now, I don't know too much about the F&B and this kind of premises. I know some friends that own restaurants do extremely well. Shout out to Bartels in Phuket, by the way, who are absolutely killing it. Best sandwiches I've had.
Oh, Bartels, very good.
Really good, yeah. But if we're talking about technology businesses, right, so which allows you to scale, because the concept of scale is that you can grow without having to double or triple or quadruple your headcount. That's to me what scale. So utilizing technology to scale. So how do you vet a good idea? The truth is that are you really solving an issue, right? Or are you just pretending you're solving an issue? Don't try and change the markets, try and complement the markets. Would your friends and family buy your product or service you're offering? And could you get 10 people outside your friends and family to validate that this is a good idea? Would they actually not just say, oh, that's a fantastic idea, son, or yeah, that's a great idea, mate, you should do it? Like, would they actually make them buy the product or service? MVP. Test this using something called minimal viable product. People over-engineer and overbuild. Build the cheapest version of what you're trying to build and do it quickly and test it. Most people, they go well beyond. So what we do is we just test lots of ideas really cheaply. Hey, does this work? Does that work? Could this have demand? And we take it to market really quickly, really cheaply as well. And that way we don't waste our time. Because listen, money you can waste, of course, time you cannot get back. You cannot make more of time. So it's so important that you validate your concept quickly and cheaply. Don't spend time. So the best way I would be is like, you can now work out who entrepreneurs and who isn't. I'm quite good at this now, because most people are like, I've got an idea. I'm like, so is everyone. I don't entertain these conversations. It's more like, hey, I've thought about it. I've got a structured deck. I've got this presentation I want to show you, and it's thought out. These people will succeed usually. Maybe not in that concept, but if they operate like this, then of course they'll succeed. But I've had people just come up to me recently, oh Mike, I've got an idea. I was like, I don't care, tell your idea to your mum, like literally. My time is valuable. So it could be any idea, as long as it's structured well and thought out, and you start the way you want to finish, as strong as you can.
And I think one of the best advices, even when I started off in the Thaiger, you gave me was, look, Jay, if you have an idea and you want people to either believe in it or do it, come up with a proper plan, come up with a presentation, show them why that they need to invest their time and money in it, and you're definitely more likely to get that than just being like, Mike, I've got a great idea, you should believe in me. Show the hard facts, show the projections, show what's possible. If you truly believe in it, then try to share that belief and dream rather than just hoping for the best.
It's hard because they don't know how to do this if they've never done it before. But look, there's so much content out on online. It's just people just lazy. People are like, hey Mike, I've got this idea. I'm like, listen, I travel on flights every week. I have an hour, say, minimum on a flight where I'd read someone's business plan if they sent it to me. Not one person has ever given me anything. Not one. And it's sad because internally, in terms of my staff, and sometimes people actually do, and I'm like, wow, this is good. Because like, if I spent that much time to think about it, then the chances are it's probably not a bad idea, because I've gone through it in detail to try and understand the market. So whatever you're going to do, just if you're looking for money, or even if you're for yourself, without even looking for investment, put it down. Don't just come up with an idea and be like, I'm going to do it, and focus on your logo and your website or your business cards. I mean, God, it's just silly, Focus on the actual concept. Does this make sense, really? And then once you have that, you have much more chance of succession.
Let's talk about leadership. Lead by example, or put the right people in the right position to lead.
Yes, find leaders. That's it. It's like some entrepreneurs are not natural leaders, which is weird, right? Because you think they would be. But leadership, this is not my quote, so I'm paraphrasing someone else. But there's bad leaders are managers, and great managers are leaders. So the game is to always be a leader, and a leader of people. You need people to be able to follow you in the vision. That's really what's going to get them to work the extra hours or the extra care. A very dedicated and motivated team that believe in one vision has a higher chance of succession. So the question is how do you develop leadership skills? Can you be a leader? Because look, if you go back to ancient times, there was always one guy leading your troops into war. Not everyone could do this. So, but there are courses to develop this kind of skill sets. But you need people to follow you. It's super important. So, and the aim is to have multiple leaders, not just you just can't be the only leader. You need everyone to be leading. So I would say that entrepreneurism is something that can be done internally. You don't need to be a company owner to be an entrepreneur. You can use this skill set as inside a company structure and really have these qualities. So 100% find great people. This is all it is. Find great people. It's not I'll give you an example, Jay, right? In the Thaiger, you're pretty good, and I think you lead people. I watch the way you command your team. And this skill set is admirable because you care not just about the quality of work, but you care about your team. Whereas some people care about themselves and not anything else, and it's all about them. And I think these people, unfortunately, they never hit the higher echelons of success. In terms of, if you take 100 people and you took a sample size, so I think find great people who have natural leadership skills, and most of them don't even know they have leadership skills. That's a weird thing. Once you understand what you're looking for, you'll be like, yeah, he's awesome, he's a great leader of people. And it's such an important skill set. It's probably the most important thing. Building a business, find great people, right? much higher chance of success.
Okay. Okay, I've got a more deeper question
Yeah.
for you, because I've noticed as well, like, look, the empowerment of leaders, and especially young leaders in your companies, does that stem from your own past experiences or struggles trying to make a name for yourself?
Yes. So when I was in banking, I always thought I could do more, but no one wanted to listen to me. I was a kid. You know, that stigma as I was a kid. It was always someone above me that was, you know, 100% less intelligent than me, less motivated, less dedicated, who'd been making the decisions, you know. So I realised coming here, I said this was my aim. And, you know, people think, you know, it might be about money. But the honest truth was, I said, I want people to walk past me or other people and say, I work for Michael Kenny, who's a great guy. That is still today, you know, on the top of the reasons why I'm doing it. And it was the reason why then, and we're still there. So I noticed that some people don't have the opportunities, you know, to excel, but they're great people. An example in say the Thaiger, there's a young guy in our company called Pruk. Yeah, just to be clear, he's the main reason the Thaiger's done so well. Yeah, like 90% of it.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone thinks that, you know, well, these other people. No, this young guy who, you know, maybe get a little picture up on the screen.
Yeah.
This guy here is responsible for 40 million users per year coming to the Thaiger. Yeah, but unfortunately he'll never take any credit unless the front people give him credit. Now I'm there every day, just sat down with him. I'm like, hey man, you are the bee's knees, you are awesome. You know, young Thai guy, probably wasn't given a second look at different opportunities out there, and now he's blowing up. And I see this in all different parts of all the group. We've got some amazing young Thai talent who are blowing up.
Yeah.
That probably wasn't given the same opportunities that, say, wealthy, more educated Thais were. But these guys are killers, and that's what you need. They won't stop until you win.
Yeah.
So it definitely stems from me not being given opportunities. And now I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I can provide opportunities. It's not identifying, you know, the people who's got the, you know, the people who've got the best banter or your best mates. It's the people that really can fly, and it's such an amazing feeling watching them blow up. I'm like, wow, this buzzes me out. Yeah.
Mike, talking on the topic of Thaiger, let's get some things clear.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that we need to address for all of our viewers, as they might have some questions. So now DBV owns the Thaiger, which basically means you're one of the owners of Thaiger.
Sure.
So who is the founder of Thaiger? I'm talking about the Thaiger we all know, because some people think it's a radio station, some people think, oh no, it's Phuket Gazette. So who founded the Thaiger? And yeah.
Okay, so this is the backstory. This is the truth, because I did it. Me and two friends, who my business partners, who in all the companies, we got introduced to the Phuket Gazette through someone called Bill Barnett. Shout out to Bill, you know. And they were having a bit of trouble. You know, they were basically a traditional newspaper, big one at the time, but it was moving to digital. And we thought that we could buy their digital assets, mainly for the real estate side. We thought, hey, they've got great, you know, we didn't really understand what we were doing. Yep. So myself, Paul and Brennan, under our company, we acquired the digital assets of the Phuket Gazette. And everything was fine. We had it for a year. We didn't actually do much with it. And at that time, I was introduced to Tim, and he had a radio station at that point. Now, the radio station was unprofitable, and it wasn't a good business. It was failing. So I said, Tim, do you want to come and work for this company? And we branded it using his name. But the Thaiger, the backstory is, it's not a radio station. This is nothing we ever had in the company. The narrative, it might have been said that way, but the truth is that we never did a radio station. Tim had a radio station, which was unprofitable, which we ended up having to liquidate and pay for, and we lost quite a lot of money doing it. So we then built this business, and we hired some great people. Tim was definitely one of them, who was hired and paid a salary, but we had some other amazing people. And the honest truth is that there's a guy called Pruk who's sat here. He's responsible for now 40 million users that come through. He's the core reason on the platform, on the website, which is the biggest part of the business, is the website.
Yep.
Everyone thinks it's a YouTube channel. He's the main reason. Another guy called Paulie, who helped build this technology, super quick, super smart guy. And plus now, 70 people that make the business, it is what it is today. And, we had a bit of lightning there.
This is the storm.
I know.
Coming.
It was like doo-doo, as I was saying it. But yeah, so there's some great people inside the business, and businesses are not built of one person.
Yeah.
So anyone that takes the spotlight saying, hey, I built any business, whether it was a Thaiger or anything else, it's just not the true story. People build businesses, groups of people build businesses, amazing teams build businesses, and the Thaiger has unbelievable people sat here, young, motivated, dedicated, and they are the reasons that it happens. There's no one man. As I said before, if I left tomorrow or died, the business would grow.
Okay.
And so I think, so that's kind of how I perceive any business.
I think that's fair for a company like Thaiger as well, because, me, Natty, and Jet are the faces of the company. It's easy to feel like, oh, these three are the Thaiger, but you're right, as in, if I left the Thaiger tomorrow for whatever reason, of course the company is going to move forward and continue. And I think it's more than just a company like the Thaiger should not just be dependent on one person.
No, I think it's a narrative you tell as well. So, if you want to, if there's definitely ego at play and you want to make out that this is a one-person company, it's not. I mean, with this conversation we're having, I can see camera people, editors, people helping out with props. There's so many people involved, and these are the unsung heroes.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is why it happens every day. It's not because someone gets up or you come along and put your face on it. It's because of these people. And without people like you, these people don't go to work because they're not motivated, don't feel they're treated well, they're not happy. Then So I think that it's a team effort, and it always has been, and it always will be. And the rhetoric that it's anyone or individual, whether it's me or whether it's someone else, this is just not true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, are you the majority shareholder of the Thaiger?
Yes.
Have you always been?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So at one point we owned it 100%, and then I gave some people shares. No one paid me any money for them. And then we had a round, which we did a crowdfunding round with some investors, and they were amazing. And they basically, in the most difficult time, they put their capital in.
Yeah.
And these investors are also unsung heroes. They literally came in during a very difficult time during COVID and basically propped up the company and allowed us to grow and pay the salaries of everyone else. But the only way really you can be owning a company is you're funding it. That's the whole way it is. Okay. So you can't own a company by getting paid a salary. It just doesn't. You can if you're paying yourself. But so it's
Well, talking about unsung heroes and people who don't get a lot of attention, like Perk, like Paulie, for example, it's actually quite true that you're one of the unsung heroes, because, for example, I think Tim's before said that he started TNT, Thailand News Today, during the pandemic on a dare that you gave him to start like an evening headlines show. And when I joined, Good Morning Thailand, for example, was an idea you had from Good Morning Britain, a show that you grew up watching. So, I mean, in my opinion, you are solely responsible for the creation of the Thaiger's two most popular shows that everyone watches and loves. Nobody really knows that, though.
Yeah, because do you know what? Because my stress is that, and the first thing for me is to make sure I take care of the staff. Before any of the viewers, the staff have to be taken care of. Everyone needs to be paid salaries and provide for their families. That's the most important thing. So behind all of that stress and that immense pressure, having a group of companies with hundreds of people just sat there everywhere, and they support hundreds of other people, is the only thing I can put my time. It's very hard to sit back and then take a pat on the back and be like, okay, good job, So I think I'm not in this for pats on the back, and I appreciate your very kind words, but the honest truth is coming up with an idea is one thing. It's the people who actually make it happen.
Yeah,
and it's it's the people who executed that. And again, there are so many people involved in executing a business strategy that do not take the credit, and these people should be given credit to. And I'm going to make it my kind of a part of my mission to make sure these people get rewarded equally.
Talking about Thailand News Today, like coming up with a headlines show for Thailand, was there a specific reason that you decided to do that? For example, Bangkok Post, one of the biggest, English-speaking news companies in Thailand, they never even ventured into social media or in YouTube, for example. But Thaiger already being a successful news website, why did you think that Thaiger could start doing the news on YouTube? Was that just a feeling that you had, or is that something you felt like, okay, there's a gap in this market and that's where we need to
do you know what?
focus on?
I would like to pretend like I had some some profound experience. The truth is, I was like, try it. Everything I'm like, try it. Have a go. See if it works. If it doesn't, we kill it off.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's have a chat today.
Yeah.
If our viewers like this, then we'll have more chats. If they don't, we'll see it off. So the main thing for us is move quickly, super quickly. Try new things. Dare. Have a go. Don't sit there and be like, I'm going to overthink this scenario. So the main thing is, could we do this? Well, let's find out. Let's have a go. Did it work? We started seeing traction. It started to work. Let's do more of it. Would people like a talk show? Maybe, maybe not. At the start, not so much, and they started to enjoy it. So, have a go, move quickly, and really push the boundaries. Be innovative.
And things change with time. For example, I think when we started Good Morning Thailand, like the idea that it was Good Morning Britain, I think now that it's kind of just evolved into something else, and sometimes you just have to go with the flow.
Yeah, and you have to take like the wider perspective when you're analysing stuff. If you just, for example, on YouTube, there's a few commenters that will just be like, oh, we don't like this, or bring back Tim. And the honest truth is that this is not the majority. The loudest people do not represent anything, is the honest truth. So you have to look at all the numbers and be like, okay, how many people are watching this and enjoying it? Not the people who are miserable and just like feel like they have to say something. It's so you can analyse lots of data and be like, okay, is this actually good? And then you've got the answer. You don't need people to validate it by commenting. Most people don't say anything. They just sit there and watch and enjoy. So stuff evolves, and that's it. Keep challenging, keep improving, keep innovating. This is this is how you succeed, because otherwise someone else comes along and copies your model and innovates your model, and then they kind of jump you. So it's all about building stuff, innovating, and really daring. Don't just sit there and be, okay, Peter, I've heard this comment which is like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. This is not true anymore, guys. Yeah, that's why new businesses are the biggest businesses in the world, because if it's not broken, don't fix it. It's like, that's what Blockbuster said, and then Netflix came along and innovated. By the time they had the second peep, it was done. So I think innovation is core. Provide better experience. Give our users more enjoyment on any product, service. Doesn't really matter. Keep pushing that boundaries. Don't rest in your laurels where it's like, okay, I'm happy, I'm winning. I'm always going to be winning. As soon as you get into that comfort zone, you lose. It's you have to innovate or you're out. Yeah. So, and I believe that this is where we're going with this.
Okay. Right, Mike, to end this podcast, I'm going to refer back to the title of this video, which is going to be called How to Build a $100 Million Business in Thailand. What's the one piece of advice you'd give young, old, middle-aged entrepreneurs, people who are trying to make it in this world?
You have to believe. You have to believe. You have to really believe your own story. Whatever shit you're saying, you have to believe it. Right? You have to force yourself to say, this is where I'm going to go. So if you're to get to $100 million valuation, you need to build something really big. You have to be a dreamer. You have to dream beyond. Most people can't dream, not to these levels, right? In terms of you have to say, okay, this is where I think I can go with this, and believe it. And nothing is going to stop me. Nothing. Because, I've vowed too many times along the way, if I did not have that belief system, I just would have quit, right? Going back to a job. Just laid in bed for a little while. You have to believe. If you don't believe, you will not achieve. And I think that's the same with this. The best sports people, the best musicians, they were all dreamers. They all believed they could do it at some point, become the best of what they do. And I still believe that at some point, this is going to be a lot bigger, that I will be able to help a lot more people and inspire a lot more people. So you have to believe. And if you don't believe, don't bother doing it. Stay what you're doing. So I would say that's, if you ask me for one thing, that would be it.
All right, Mike, I'd like to take this moment to thank you for being on the podcast, the first Thaiger podcast. Thank you for your advice and all the information that you've provided. And we hope to invite more and more interesting guests like you on the Thaiger podcast. As for now, I'd like to wish you well in your future entrepreneurship.
Give me some air touch.
Yeah, there we go. And stay tuned for next time when we have another guest on Thaiger Podcast.